Today I would like to talk about how to really embrace your spiritual journey, the uniqueness of your own spiritual journey. It's a bit of a windy place, but the most important is you get the message. So, very often when we are on a spiritual path, we tend to guilt trip ourselves. We do not embrace our own being as it is. So we read some books or come across someone's talks, but we don't realize that these people speak from a certain level of refinement, or maybe they just speak about something they've learned from books and portray it as their own knowledge. The most important lesson on the spiritual path is to never look elsewhere, but to first of all focus within and embrace one's own current state, which is one's own nature, to actually tap into one's own nature, because we cannot start the spiritual journey before we embrace our own nature, before we realize the uniqueness of our own being. And the uniqueness includes the corruption, includes all these personality disorders, if you will, or includes all these corrupt states, illusions that we carry within. So we usually, when we start our journey, we aim very high. We look at something like, let's say we look at the star and we want to grasp the star, and yet we stumble at every rock. So the most important lesson is to understand the path, which is to look on the road, to look at every step, to understand and embrace every step as one's unique opportunity to refine oneself, because without this step there is no further refinement. And this is how, with this misunderstanding, many people reach stagnation on their spiritual journey. Even though they wish to evolve, instead of evolving, they keep on jumping from one path to the other, from one teacher to the other, from one book to the other, instead of understanding that their journey does not lie in the books or through other people's knowledge. Even though the knowledge can, or the realization of other people may give you an insight, you still have to look back within. You have to embrace your own journey. You have to understand the uniqueness of your nature and understand your current state. Because when you understand your current state, and yet you also have or gain that awakened perspective through true teachings, through coming across true teachings, the teachings that transmit the state of higher being. So you start realizing, or you start to realize gradually, that you are that higher frequency, and yet in the human body you embody this your nature, your inclinations, your distortions, your unique corrupt state, so to speak, that which defined you or kind of crystallized you into the individual self. Because when we speak about higher yugas, we speak about the collective self. When we speak about Kali Yuga, it is the crystallized, fragmented self, which is like a little piece of a big mirror. And so without really embracing your own nature, at this point you cannot progress further. And so in order to embrace yourself, it doesn't mean, again, you have to give in to obsessions and disorders and addictions. No, it means that you have to admit it to yourself, and yet you have to hold on to the higher frequency, to be aware of that nature, that corruption, that inclination that pushes you towards maybe something that you don't even enjoy, but it pushes you towards that. And so when you recognize it, admit it to yourself, you have a chance to dissolve it with awareness. You still may pursue these paths, you still may pursue the paths of corruption, but each time you go along those lines, you realize that it doesn't do you good. It doesn't progress you in any form. It doesn't develop you. And how do you know that it doesn't? Because your body is a reflection of that. consciousness is the root and the body is the fruit. So when you realize this, you understand that the body is suffering, the body is the body has pains, the body shows pains, shows signs of decay, shows signs of imbalance. And so because you realize that, you understand that even though you embrace your nature and you follow the paths of your inclinations, not all the inclinations lead you to balance. And this way you realize with awareness how to actually dissolve these imbalances. So you hold on to the higher frequency that promotes balance, that promotes contentment. In this way you gradually heal yourself, dissolving these corrupt patterns, coming to the point of deep, profound contentment and bliss. And yet this bliss has to result on your body, because the moment you awaken, you just have this blissful state, but yet you still have that corrupt nature that you refuse to embrace, that you feel guilty about, that you have, that provokes negative emotions. So you not only have those obsessive tendencies, but you also have guilt about this or shame about these obsessive tendencies. And so it's very important to kind of embrace and see how it reflects on your body. A lot of people follow spiritual paths, but these are the paths of dead ends, because they don't lead to healing, refinement of the physical body, transformation of the physical body into the balanced, non-decaying, you may say, vehicle. And so what happens eventually, even though one may fool oneself into believing that one is progressing, one is evolving because one has these glimpses of bliss, one's life is imbalanced. One does not enjoy life in a healthy manner. One does not relate to the projected reality in a healthy manner. And so one needs to do this work, the work of embracing one's nature, understanding one's tendencies, and yet refining those tendencies that lead one's body to decay or imbalance, disease, pain, and so on and so forth. So it's a very important message to understand. There's many people fool themselves into belief that because of jumping from one school to the other, from one teaching to the other, from one book to the other, from one teacher to the other, they progress. Instead, they do not understand what the progress, the spiritual progress actually should look like. And the spiritual progress should look like complete balance on the physical level. When you actually have done your work and dissolved a lot of patterns, your body will no longer have diseases or imbalances. You will no longer have pains and different kind of discomforts, because it will come to the point where all these pains have been transformed, have been dissolved, because the pain is the indication of imbalance. The pain is the indication of corruption within the subtle energetic body. And when you realize that, you start the process of actual healing. And the healing is not the healing of the physical body, it is the healing of your energetic substance, of the energetic, of your subtle being, of your conscious self, which is now, even though it is fundamentally light, it is of the light essence, it is corrupt because it has accumulated a lot of information, a lot of patterns that it has to dissolve within. And when you dissolve these patterns, your body stops draining energy. When you stop draining energy, you feel balanced, you feel content, you feel emotionally, mentally healthy. It means you do not need the projected reality to fulfill yourself. You do not need to create unhealthy relationships with projected reality or attachments or a sense of self through that projected reality. And this way you restore your true identity. So, in other words, spiritually speaking, you restore your light body, your subtle being in its wholesome sense, and you start cultivating it. And this is the way you progress, because this cultivation will result on a ageless body that has gained contentment, balance, longevity, and which can live much longer, that has expanded its consciousness, current conscious limitations and boundaries, and gained more time for its evolution in the body if it wills, or if it doesn't, then it progresses out of this projected reality, out of this body further, and continues its evolution through its subtle being, through its subtle body. Thank you very much. There's a lot of food for thought, and good luck on your journey.